Hey, today I'm joined by someone who balances two worlds with equal passion. By day, she's a senior director of product management at Mobileum, shaping technology that impacts millions of users. And beyond the boardrooms and product roadmaps, she steps into wilderness and wild spaces with a camera in hand, chasing light, landscapes, and the quiet honesty of nature. Deepa Godkhindi is someone who proves that a demanding career and a deep love for photography don't have to exist in separate universes. In fact, in her case, they fuel each other. Deepa, welcome to the show. I am excited to explore the journeys you take, both in the world of tech and through your lens.
Yes.
Looking forward.
Yes, very happy to be here, Jayanth, and especially someone whom I look up to. I think this comes as a real honor for me.
Thank you so much for taking time to join the ExplorerChat. I'm looking forward to having a great conversation with you.
Same here, Jayanth.
So tell me, you are a senior director of product management.
Yes.
So can we understand what this means?
Okay, so my journey started just like anybody else as a software engineer.
Right.
And especially in a field that I was so passionate about and had also studied. So I did my engineering in electronics and communication.
I see.
So the natural progression when I landed my first job was, of course, the telecom.
Okay.
And plus an added advantage here was you basically know and see when you use your own handset, we are so able to connect to it.
Right.
So that journey grew from a software engineer all the way to a senior director or a director engineering first, where I was managing the engineering side of planning, execution and all of that.
Right.
And then there was sudden change post-COVID, where I wanted to also focus not just on the work aspects, because I'd given close to about 20 odd years already into engineering and being a people manager and a project manager.
Right.
And my passion also, along with being a people manager, lied in how I could communicate to the operators, talk to them directly.
Right.
And then how I could make a meaningful impact onto my product.
Understood.
So wherever I kind of traveled on work, I was very well appreciated, and the feedback that I received from all these customers whom I spoke to was very encouraging. So then I took a break, I started slowing down a little bit on my work aspects, and I moved from a hardcore management role to an individual contributor first as a system engineer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then grew into it because, of course, I wanted to balance my passion with my work.
Sure.
And then the natural progression was product management or as a product owner, where I could have the flexibility of driving where I would want to see my product based on how the market trends are, what the operators need, and what else can be added to the product to make it more meaningful to the end users.
Understood.
And also, in turn, help my organization make money or bring revenue into it.
Sure. So interestingly, you were progressing in the cliche, software engineer's life cycle from let's say a programmer to a senior programmer to a lead to a project manager, and at some stage you said you went out of that line into a solo contributor, let's say an architect style of work, I'm assuming, and then you're now a product manager or you're into product management. So for a layman to understand what's product management, it's basically it could be an app or it could be something related to the line of service in your company where you are the owner of that, and you have your mind share for that product, but you can explain it better.
So the definition of a product manager is basically someone who owns the product, and not just from the company aspect or general usability, but how do one add value with the product and make it more meaningful for an end operator. That's the whole goal. So I own the entire feature set. So I do my research into the market, work with my CTO team to analyze what are the current trends, what is it that we should be naturally progressing with what we have, and how should my roadmap look like.
Wonderful.
And then add new features which and of course, the end result is make more money for the company.
Organization,
but then, how is it more useful, and how many copies could I actually sell? So all of these contribute into forming, or this knowledge kind of is required to be a product manager.
Right,
Now,
right.
irrespective of the industry that we work in, how can you keep evolving the product more and more, and then to know when to stop?
Sure.
And that decision also is quite a hard one, because at the end of the day, it's your baby.
Of course.
You've seen it grow, you've seen
Sure.
it contribute,
Right,
you've
right.
seen it reach its peak. But then at one point you would need to say, I need to stop investing in this because it's no longer relevant.
Sure,
I'd
sure.
rather bring up something else that's more relevant at that time in the market,
Right.
and for the next maybe 3 to 5 years.
Understood.
So all that is something that
Wonderful.
for me a product manager or product management is
Right.
into.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that explanation, because these terms could be ambiguous to some people. But great. So now, after so many years in the IT industry, or do we call it IT industry, or
Yeah, you
is
can
it, or a product company, is it?
Yeah,
Or is
it's
that
a
a product
product
company?
company,
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Mobileum. Mobileum.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Mobileum. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are a telecom-based company. We started somewhere in our 2000s. We were back then called as Unwired Soft. And then as we grew, I mean, it was a company of 7-8 people in a small office that was set up in Hiranandani, Mumbai.
Oh, I see. Provide.
Yeah, and from there we grew up to becoming, or rather called as Roamware.
Ah, okay.
The reason being because we were primarily focused on the roaming side of the business,
Sure.
telecom business.
Sure.
And then as we progressed over the years, we started getting bigger horizontally as well. So not just adding more people and more teams to the organization, but we also went ahead and acquired more
Smaller
businesses that were relevant to the same space, or that also added more value to that expanded the whole business space.
Understood.
And at that point, because we were no longer just into roaming, but we were doing a lot of other things, we rebranded ourselves to call it as the Mobileum. Mobile, basically we are into
Sure.
the mobile world.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we coined Mobileum.
Wonderful.
So
It's a rebranded.
it's a rebranded now, and that's where our brand now lies, Mobileum. Yeah.
Makes sense. So I have one question, which is actually something that I would love to spread across as an awareness. What's your opinion to some 20-year-old techie in the making, looking at somebody like you? I know that now you've been working in this company for so long, and you see a lot of youngsters who jump jobs in a year or once in 2 years and stuff like that. There must be pros and cons of both. What's your take on that? Before we get into our topic of travel, photography, let's finish this.
Well, that's slightly controversial, because maybe not many people would agree with my opinion, but for me it is to build strong fundamentals first, understand and contribute really well into an industry that you're working on, than jumping companies or organizations. Of course, that adds that increases your salary, but at the end of the day, if that's what you're chasing, then well, it makes sense. But they also say Rolling Stone gathers no moss.
Sure.
Somewhere,
Absolutely.
if you have to be an SME, or if you want to be an expert
When you say
at
SME,
something,
subject matter
expert, and if you want to be a person who has an in-depth knowledge into any industry or any technology, then spending or rather investing good amount of years into an organization
Sure.
really makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, again, there are options like whether the culture is you match or vibe. Right now the term is vibe. So whether you vibe with that culture, or how good is the team structure that you're operating in, and the kind of roles and responsibilities that you kind of are bestowed with, that determines a lot with how long people kind of stay.
Absolutely.
So that's, again, it's a balance.
I think I can see a relationship with it, personal relationships and other relationships as well, because this seems to be the way we are looking at our personal relationships as well, right?
Indeed.
Interestingly, yesterday I was talking to my brother. We are looking to hire a couple of positions at Toehold, and when we started interviewing a few candidates, we realized there are so many keywords in the resume, but if you dig deep and ask 1 second question, the depth is not there.
Yeah,
is that something you're noticing in?
Yes, of course. And so when I hire anybody into my team, I do not check any jargons.
I see.
Or I do not ask them in the sense
Tech questions.
I do ask tech questions, but I switch back to basics immediately.
I see.
And the second thing what I look for when I'm hiring my team is how good their knowledge about the current work that they are doing.
Okay.
How solid is that? Because if they are not solid and they're blabbering there, then I'm sure that they will not stick around
Sure.
in my company for long and in my team.
Right.
And the last aspect that I generally look for when I hire people is what are their other, or rather, how do they spend their time outside work?
I see.
Because that gives a lot of perspective into how they will come and perform at work.
Understood. So what do you want them to have, a great hobby or an interest or a passion outside of work?
Yeah, generally I would, because that adds, so I've seen it grow in me.
Yeah.
And I've seen it grow in a couple of my other colleagues.
Right.
And how it impacts work, your productivity is at a different level.
And the mental well-being.
Yeah, the mental well-being.
Right.
And then you know that you have this time, so you make the best use of it,
Right.
because you have other things waiting for you.
Sure.
So that kind of adds a lot of it, plus your how do you play as a well team player.
Right.
That is there. Then how exactly, in the sense, you develop a lot of patience and the curiosity.
Right.
So all of these aspects get added because you have a hobby outside. So it could be as simple as taking a book and reading, or just exploring nature, walking, or even to the fact of even working out regularly, because that requires some bit of discipline.
Sure, absolutely. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, so interesting points. I would love to come back to a point where we discussed later in the chat. Basically, it's about how we balance our work and our hobbies and stuff like that. You've been doing wonderfully well at that. How does your tech self, I mean the tech Deepa versus the creative Deepa complement each other? So how do you think, is it similar in some ways, or there are complementary parts of your brain that has to be used for different things? Because you are very creative, you love nature, you love wilderness. At the same time, you have a role to play in the business. There is a lot of, I'm sure, pressures, deadlines, disappointments, successes, and all of that. How does both these, the tech Deepa and the creative Deepa, work together?
Well, they say it's left brain and right brain,
Right.
But I think balancing is what makes sense.
Right.
And how do you add the technical aspects, as in how quickly do you get onto your feet to learning something new, is also what is applicable in your hobby side. So how well can you adapt to it? The other thing is how quickly can you learn or unlearn things. That's also very important.
Sure.
So that aspect balances out, or brings in, it's equivalent, I mean, it's required on both the sides.
Sure.
And then sometimes not all problems that we face in our technical or in our job require a technical solution always.
Interesting point.
Sometimes you need to think out of your way. Maybe it's just like going to somebody else and asking for a help or collaborating with them.
Okay.
Which otherwise in my technical mind I would have just sunken it in and sat nights together to solve it.
Understood.
But it's just about that, and how creatively can you solve a problem or just mitigate that problem for that time.
Sure.
So all of that, it's like it balances each other.
Right.
So even if you pursue a hobby, now it could be photography, or it could be learning any musical instrument,
Right.
or for that matter dance, you see there is a technical aspect there as well. It's not always creative, right? It starts with technical, but it ends up being creative.
Right.
So it's similar thing for me when it comes to work. So when I'm designing a solution, or if I'm adding a new feature to a product, I start off doing my technical study, but how I want to show it to the world, or how do I want the users to see it, that's entirely again creative.
Absolutely. Since you brought it up, and I also know I've seen it somewhere a few times, your interest in dance, right? So what form of dance is this? Classical, is it?
Yeah.
Bharatanatyam?
I started with Bharatanatyam, and I started dancing maybe when I was at 5 or 6 years.
Wow, okay.
Started that young. And then I stopped in between when I was in 8th standard.
Okay.
Because of studies, and I wanted to excel there. Of course, coming from the typical South Indian family.
Of course.
Studies is the primary
Most important
importance
thing there,
thing, right?
yeah.
And then when I crew and came to Bangalore, I somehow had the interest to pursue Kathak as a dance. So I was staying as a paying guest earlier.
Oh, I see.
And there nearby, I started exploring if there anybody who would teach Kathak. So that's how I ended up. It was pretty near to where I was staying in BTM.
Okay.
And then I started that, and I just didn't realize how the next 6 years I would actually take it so seriously that I even graduated.
Oh,
yeah,
secondary exam.
Yes,
Wow.
I have a degree from the University of Allahabad.
Wow. In Kathak.
In Kathak.
Wow.
It's a bachelor's degree.
Wow, that is something interesting.
Yeah.
And talking about your name, we also know a very famous musician, Praveen Godkhindi.
Godkhindi,
Is that a name of a town, village, or any region, or
Yeah.
do you have a similar background?
That's right. Godkhindi actually is the name of a town in Maharashtra.
Oh,
so
I
my
see.
forefathers come from that place.
Oh, I see.
But we've long been settled in North Karnataka, which is Dharwad.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I moved to Bangalore only after I got my job.
I see.
But yeah, I call Praveen and me as Adnau Bandhu,
Oh,
which is in Marathi it means surname relatives.
Understood.
Yeah. So, but other than that, the
Okay.
common surname, and we are like two different families and
Sure,
stuff.
sure,
no
understood.
relation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's now talk about your, interest, which coincides with our interest, which is travel and photography. How did this happen to you? As in, when did you realize that maybe I should pick up a camera, I should start indulging in it? When did this happen?
So way back when I was in the US is where I think you had those pocket-sized digital cameras coming in early 2006. So I picked up my first Sony camera,
Oh, really?
incidentally.
You
when
have
I
been
was
using
in
Sony earlier than me.
Yes. I still have that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, so I picked up my first camera there, clicked around a few photographs, but after I came back, because my work took priority,
Sure.
and the travel kind of halted for a while. I would
Okay.
say a semicolon, not a full stop.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my initial days of photography. But
Right.
I always loved traveling.
Okay.
Then I switched on to mobile photography as the smartphones started evolving.
Getting better.
Yeah, and then I had a few set of friends in my organization with whom we used to have I used to have lunch.
Right.
And our lunch table conversations were generally on wildlife
Interesting.
and photography, because one person whom I'd like to mention, Kirti Kulkarni, he was the one who would narrate stories about the wild and his adventures and all
Sure,
of that.
sure.
So that helped, man. I literally out of curiosity and to understand what it is.
Sure.
And with his guidance, I picked up my first camera, and this time I picked up a Canon 700D.
Absolutely.
And I still have that with
Sure.
me. And I started traveling with it.
Okay.
My first ever wildlife trip was to KR, Kegudi.
Kegudi, I see.
Yeah, so I started there. And then the next was Kabini, where I
see.
celebrated the New Year's with my parents.
Understood.
And then after that, I think there is no looking back.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Great, wonderful. So for you as well, an inclination towards nature, then some influence on the world of photography happened later. So basically you were interested in the outdoors and nature and
Yes.
stuff like that, and then you figured it could be, and also probably the timing of our lives, right? And the safaris have been prominent now for about 20 years. Let's say 40 years ago, safaris was not the middle class Indian families
Of
could ever
course
afford
not.
to.
Yeah.
So I think it was also the timing of our lives where, things like these, also the timing of digital photography,
Yes.
the camera started becoming a common man's possession.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm born and brought up in a world where a camera means a professional photographer.
Of course.
A hobbyist will never have a camera.
Yeah.
Maximum they'll have something like a hot shot.
Right.
That's a camera which some of us used to have in the 80s.
And you remember those reels that used to get, and the curiosity with which we would wait for those reels to be
Developed. Yeah. Tell me about it. I used to use that all the way till my late teens, and after that it became digital. So
Yeah.
I come from a background where we owned a photo studio.
Yes.
So I was born and brought up with the film rolls. We have a lot of stories about going to Chennai, buying a lot of film rolls, coming back, half of them were fake. So lost a lot of money, my father, and yeah, interesting. So brings me to an interesting question. There were different genres of photography, like there could be people and street photography. There could be product and portraiture and stuff like that. So I think the answer is obvious, but I'd still like to ask, why did you choose wildlife per se?
Okay, so one is my inherent inclination to nature. So, and capturing it. So I would rather put it in landscape and wildlife. So that's my area of interest.
Right.
And second thing is the amount of patience that I have in clicking the wild, surely because of the place that you are in, right? It's very inspirational to see those lanes within the forest that's carved out, the light peering through the canopy of trees,
right?
the green canopy,
Of course,
and the animals.
sure.
Somehow people photography never interested me that way, and my friends always keep telling me that I'm a pathetic people photographer because I don't have the patience
Right.
to click people,
Right,
but I have double the patience to wait in the wild and
Makes
capture.
sense. Can relate to it. So, talking about wildlife and photography itself, can you remember some amazing instance in the wilderness? Could be photography related, or it could be just an encounter that you remember, some very special moment that will be one of the top moments for you so far.
There are quite a few of them. The first one was when I toured Ranthambhore for the first time in 2023 via Toehold.
Okay.
That was super special because that was the perfect image of tiger that I could make with the sal trees in the background.
Okay, I see.
It was evening, late evening.
We'd love to get that picture for this video.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
It was late evening and Tala zone. We were almost on the verge of completing. So it started late afternoon, the whole action, where Dottie's cubs, by then, she was a sub-adult cub, she was trying around to go and hunt a chital.
Ah, I see.
And then the whole action of her, the look when you, I mean, it's because I come from a dance background, so you can see those eyes moving when you're trying to look for the subject, right?
Sure.
And you want to peer.
Right.
And then it was a failed attempt nonetheless, and this whole drama lasted for about an hour almost.
I see.
And finally, before we could retreat, she came onto the road. We were slightly at a lower angle and she was at an elevated place. So I got that eye level shot with the sal trees, and that was just so beautiful.
Wonderful. So tell me about your photography gear, Deepa. What do you currently use, or what have you used in the past to understand what kind of gear people need to pursue a hobby like yours?
Yeah. So I started with Canon 5D Mark IV, and that was obviously my friends, whom he very generously lent it out. And then I use Sigma 150-600 contemporary lens, and I think I lucked out in that because I have a very beautiful lens, and all my images that are there, except for the recent Kanha ones, are majorly clicked on that.
I see.
Yeah, and that's my primary lens that I always carry.
Okay.
And then last year I upgraded to Canon R5.
R5. So now you're a mirrorless user.
Yeah, now I'm a mirrorless user. I also picked up recently the 7200 f2.8.
Okay.
Canon
RF lens.
RF lens.
Wonderful. And where all has travel taken you in India? And I'm sure you also went with us to Kenya a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Within India, let's speak about some of the places you've been to. Is there any place you've been to multiple times because you liked it?
Of course, Kabini.
Of course.
Kabini I've been to, I think, maybe there 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
Then Bandipur, Rangantittu, of course, the quintessential wildlife places in
Bangalore.
Bangalore. And then Kanha is a place that I so love.
I see.
I've been there twice.
I see.
Similarly, Bandhavgarh, I've been there again twice.
What do you like about the Central Indian jungles? Is it the trees?
Oh yeah, the trees and the landscape.
The light and the trees.
The light, trees and landscape. Doesn't matter the species. I mean, you can look at my profile.
Right.
You will barely see a tiger image or a big cat.
Sure.
But it's generally the light.
And also, is it something to do with the timing of the year? Do you like winter more? Because you're kind of, I mean, I'm envisioning winter landscapes a lot more.
Yeah.
You like winter more?
Yes.
Okay. Is the mist and the openness of the forest
The
and
mist
the trees
and the light that peers in, that's more fascinating for me than the summer heat and the humidity.
If at all you travel with us next time, I'll tell Trikansh, take her to the trees and she'll be happy.
Yes.
Don't worry about the tiger.
Any day.
Okay, great.
Oh, by the way, we were termed as the Barasingha wale last time.
Yeah, I know.
In Kanha.
I met Amruta recently. She was explaining how your WhatsApp WhatsApp group is also called
The
some Barasingha or the Light or something.
The
like
Light
that.
Gang or something like Light
something.
Wala Gang, yeah.
Sure. So Deepa, I have an interesting thing about Kanha. You were talking about how you guys were made fun of in Kanha because you were not chasing the tigers, but you were busy, envisioning a Barasingha in backlight, waiting for it to come and coincide with the tree, maybe for a composition. I'll tell you my story of Kanha. Maybe 15 years ago, I was in Kanha, and one of the guides who used to come in the roster, right? We never used to fix a guide back then.
Okay.
I still remember that guy, and he put a lot of efforts and found a tiger for us. Of course, people with me were all excited to see the tiger. For me, the excitement was not as much as the rest of them, obviously because I had seen quite a lot even 15 years ago. And everybody took some pictures of the tiger except me, who didn't even pick the camera up and take a picture because I didn't see a shot in the making and I didn't feel my hard disk was worth loading another picture of something I would not use at all. But this guy said, he was looking at me, and then after the sighting ended, everybody started going away from there. The guy who used to stand up and look around sat down on the chair, and then 5 minutes later I still remember his name, Dinesh, ab kaha chale? I asked. So he said, pata nahi sir, he said. I said, what? Pata nahi? I mean, usually people say, kaam karte hain, we'll go to the badi ghas, we'll go to this area.
Yeah.
This guy said, pata nahi sir. I thought, okay, maybe he's thinking. After a few more minutes, I asked the driver, where are we going? What are we doing? And he asked the guide, kya kare? Guide said, pata nahi. And I felt, oh, something is not right. And I touched him and said, all okay? Kya hua? And he said, nahi sir, kuch nahi. I said, arey, batao kya hua? You look a little upset. He said, nahi sir, हमने इतना मेहनत किया, पूरा जंगल घूम के आपको टाइगर दिखाया, आपने एक शॉट नहीं लिया, एक भी नहीं लिया आपने सर, मुझे बहुत बुरा लगा, he said. Then I stopped the car and I explained to him, first of all, this trip is not for me. It's for my guests.
Yeah.
And they have enjoyed the sighting.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell him in front of the guests that ये मेरे लायक नहीं था sighting. It was not about मेरे लायक. It was about my requirement. Then I took him aside and I explained to him saying, every sighting is not a photo op. I enjoyed the tiger. It was, I think, a beautiful tigress in the meadows. She's not there. I forget her name. Not the Umar Pani female, but her mother. Then I explained to him saying how every sighting is not a photo-worthy sighting. And also even for photographers, what is photo-worthy evolves over time. And for each kind of a photographer, it's different. You guys, instead of standing in the meadows, you could have simply run around the whole park, seen 4 more tigers maybe. But once you come back and you will show 4 more record shots of tiger versus showing some 4 beautifully composed, printable, artistic pictures of Kanha. So it's about what each person wants. It's not about a sport of finding tigers, right? It's also a pursuit of art and composition and storytelling and all of that. So
but I think you did touch upon a very important topic, that our tastes and interests evolve over years.
Right.
And us spending time in the wild. I've seen that journey within me. So from where I started in 2003 and the images that I was composing back then to what I am now and my rather the line of interest or the way I want to narrate a story or show or depict my picture is totally different. I would say a 360-degree change. It's that different.
Sure. Yeah. Wonderful. So has there been any trip or a photography tour that you went on which kind of surprised you in a way? It could be good or bad. Is there something that was a little shocking or a surprise to you, or something you never expected?
Oh yeah, I remember my first trip to Ranthambhore.
Okay.
We went there for my mom's birthday, and that was before I started traveling with Toehold or with anybody, right? It was just mom and me. And the madness I saw on sighting a tiger and the chaos, everybody just jumps around one another.
Right.
But what people don't realize is, with all that madness, whatever single glimpse that you could get of the tiger is also missed.
Absolutely.
Because you're so busy trying to move around, everybody is up, they are getting all their gears out, and I'm not sure in that madness whether it's just a record shot.
Sure.
Or maybe just a ear or an eye or something like that. I don't think it will be anywhere worthy of even looking at it back then, other than recollecting how pathetic or bad that whole sighting was. That was a super cultural shock for me.
Right.
Having visited Kabini and Bandipur, which is far more, I would say,
Quieter.
disciplined and quiet. than the madness of Northern India. That was a shocker.
Sure.
But
sure.
yeah, I think it grew over me over a period.
Of course. So, I mean, it used to affect me a lot in the beginning. Like, when 20 cars are there, everybody are shouting. In Kabini, we are like, we are whispering, the tiger may come out. And wahan pe, in front of the tiger, say, hey, thoda piche chal, aage chal. It is very common there. Yeah. It takes a little time for us to digest that. And, also it's important to know how each place is. The tiger also doesn't mind there. It's so used to seeing people from, canters and jeeps and gypsies and all of that. Now I had to develop something in me to switch off from the noise to focus on the tiger, because that noise cannot be switched off in reality.
Yes.
It has to be switched off in the mind. So it's a different skill that you have to develop in those places. You can't change the place. But I can understand the chances of seeing a tiger is much more there.
Yeah.
More people come there. At the same time, there's a lot more chaos in all of
course.
that. Yeah, wonderful. So you've been to Ranthambhore, Bandhavgarh, Kanha, where else?
Tadoba. And the South Indian parks.
South Indian parks like Bandipur and Kabini, Kegudi and stuff like that. You've also done a couple of Kenya trips, I believe. And let us talk about Kenya. Okay. Before that, I want to ask you, you mentioned mom and me traveled to Ranthambhore. Yeah. I noticed that on some trips you book your mom on your trip. Yeah. How is this a time for mother and daughter to bond? Yeah. I'm sure you live together, but then even when you travel on these trips, how is the experience? Is she also a wildlife enthusiast?
Yes.
Or she just comes along with you? How is it with her?
Okay, so she is a postgraduate in zoology.
Oh,
and also has been, or rather was a lecturer for 10 years. She was teaching zoology in Mysore.
Oh, I see.
So
Mysore University?
Not Mysore University, another college.
Okay, understood.
So wherever she studied, so she...
MSc in zoology?
MSc in zoology.
So she'll be the one who will speak about the porifera, phylum, blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, she's the one who taught me till my 10th standard science, especially biology. And she was very keen in me opting for a life sciences course direction, but I just took a U-turn and said, no, this is not for me.
So needless to say, she enjoys the jungle?
Oh yeah, she enjoys, so she just loves traveling, especially being in jungle. She's able to connect now at I would say at a bigger scale, because she's been used to teaching. She's seen those magazines, and I in fact grew up reading her magazines or browsing through her magazines.
Wonderful.
Though I wasn't so interested or keen in life sciences back then, but yeah, now it's a different scenario. So that's one way of us bonding, and secondly, it's just us time without the noise of us being on phone or my work or her on her television or books or anything like that. So it's just us. So I think we've grown much more stronger, as in we earlier also had a very amicable and a very strong relationship, but in the last 6 years she's become more of my best friend.
I see.
And I can just talk any junk. And of late, what I'm scared of is now she's also become my photo critic.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Composition sari illa, Deepa.
Alleno light sari illa.
Absolutely.
But she just loves being in the wild.
Understood. Great. That's amazing. I would love, I remember taking my own parents to Kabini a couple of years ago, and my father was super thrilled. He in fact spotted a leopard, and he went on telling the whole world, "Magang nan leopard torsde." And I was like, great, that's your type. So it was a wonderful bonding moment. So I definitely urge a lot of people who travel to the wilderness to take their families, because they'll then be able to relate to, why do you go so often? Why do you get up at 4 a.m. for 5 days in a row in order to enter the jungle in a freezing cold? What is it that you get from there? What is it that makes you go back again and again? They will also experience that, and they can understand your passion better if you do that.
So the moment I start talking about any of these trips or me browsing, I see two curious ears and eyes looking out saying, where are you going next and where am I going next?
Wonderful. Great. So tell me about Kenya from the Indian landscape, central India, the Aravalis, the Rajasthan area, Tadoba, and now you are on your way to Kaziranga in a couple of months. Now you've done a lot of Kabini. What dimension does Kenya add to your experiences of travel? How do you find that place? Okay,
firstly, it's the landscape itself when we talk about it, where we have tall trees and thick I would say thicket of shrubs and all of that in Indian jungles, capturing the wild, especially tiger or a leopard, is slightly a challenge. I would not say that's the only challenge, but slightly a challenge. But the openness of the savanna gives you much more access to make your own, like the frames that you have already thought about or have seen somebody else do it. Plus, the whole, when we started, the whole low angle photography was not so much prevalent, right? Now it's much more.
Right. But thanks to the mirrorless camera.
Oh, yes. And then that kind of gives you that perspective where you can sit down and shoot mostly at the low levels, whereas in the gypsies here slightly it becomes cumbersome to bend down unless you are quite athletic and you have done so that's one challenge. That's one big difference that I see. The second is in the light itself. Third is of course the wildlife. Starting from the African lions to the beauty of African elephants,
right,
and the cheetahs.
Okay.
And a whole herd of antelopes that we don't get to see here.
Sure.
It's entirely different. So it's a whole different dimension, I would say.
Wonderful. And I'm very sure that when somebody goes to Kenya once, and usually they have a good experience.
Yeah.
If they do, they'll never be able to not go again.
Yes.
They'll already be thinking, 2 saal baad mein is time mein jaunga ya jaungi and stuff like that. So has that happened to you?
Of course, I've visited. So 2023 was my first trip to Kenya.
Right.
I did 2024 where I did North Kenya.
I see.
And next week I'm going back again to Laikipia.
Oh, wonderful. So hope you get the Black Panther. And northern Kenya, what? Samburu? Where did you go?
We did Samburu, Olpejeta and Loisaba.
Wonderful. Looking forward to your pictures from there. Now tell me, let's say your HR, head of HR in your company comes to you and says, Deepa, you are passionate about travel and photography. Let's have a talk by you, show some pictures and inspire people to, look at a hobby like photography. What would you tell somebody who wants to begin their journey as a wildlife enthusiast first and maybe even a photographer? What are your recommendations? You initially spoke to me about setting the basics in your profession. Is that something you would also tell them to do right when it comes to nurturing a hobby like photography? What would your recommendations be to a beginner? Okay,
so the first thing is to just enjoy nature in itself without even having to lift the camera.
Okay.
Because that's more important. Unless and until you do not blend in with the whole environment or you do not have a skill of noticing the small nitty-gritties, a small moment in the leaf, a small sound that you could possibly hear. It could be a langur whooping call, but for all you know, that excites you, right? And of course, the alarm calls and all of that.
Right.
Or it could be just a random bird squeaking out.
Of course.
So that experience and the whole idea of being alive at that moment is something that I would at least want nature photographers to first develop. Then pick up a camera and record that experience and showcase it to yourself first, your family, friends, or whoever you would want to in a public forum or social media. But that's one thing. Second thing is, if you like to present something and it's something very dear to you, it may or may not be necessary that everybody would appreciate it.
Of course.
There are, of course, the guidelines or rules that we follow in photography.
Critique.
But otherwise as well, it could be as good as I see a frame. Maybe it has an impact on me. Might be, depending on the viewer's mood or the situation they are in, it might not impress them.
Understood.
So not to go with what others feel. And at the same time, just because you are getting innumerable likes and followers on the social media, not to get carried away at the same time.
Makes sense.
So just stay true to your essence, not follow the trend, and do what feels right for you, so that tomorrow as you grow, either it could be in the profession or in a passion that you're following, if somebody looks at your work, they should be easily able to point out and say, oh, this is Deepa's work.
Understood.
Or this is Jayanth's work. Something I would personally would want to be associated that way.
Makes sense.
Not just making 100 of tiger or leopard images.
Makes sense. Also, what is your opinion on somebody who asks you, do I need a photography course? Do I need a photography workshop? There are so many videos online. What would you tell? You spoke of because we do a lot of things where we train people in photography and we see a lot of people who feel, अरे उसमें training की क्या ज़रूरत है, करते करते अच्छा हो जाएगा, kind of thing. What is your take on that?
So there are two ways to look at it, and I'll tell you both my experiences because I've had both. So I picked up my camera and started learning on my own. This is during the COVID time.
Right.
Like most of us pursued that passion, right?
Sure.
But then there was a point in time when I felt I wasn't liking my images itself. So that's when I said, I think it's better I take up or I study photography more professionally under a guidance of a mentor,
Right.
or somebody whose work I appreciate, I admire, and I look up to.
Of course.
So that kind of helps a lot. It's not just about the technical nuances, right? Getting those settings right and having them embedded into you, that's very important.
Of course.
And then also, if somebody tells you, okay, this is the rule of thirds. Now, talking about rule of thirds is very easy when you have to talk about it.
Right.
But when actually somebody shows how it's done and what exactly constitutes, like all of us make the mistake of putting the one subject,
the
the
center.
eye in the center or eye on one of those corners.
Right.
When as you learn and grow, especially in a kind of an environment where almost everybody is at your level.
Right.
So you don't feel, oh, that person knows so much and I don't know anything.
Right.
Because you have a group of like-minded people.
Sure.
And at more or less the same level that you're learning in.
Absolutely.
So that kind of benefits.
Okay.
Second is, of course, sharing of ideas, and that's secondary. And you also network, you know people.
Makes sense.
The third aspect is when you know and you start traveling with the mentors. So on the field, I mean, sitting and studying in a class is much different than being on the field, right? Because there you need to be really quick,
Right.
adjust and move on. Sometimes there is just small word that says, just increase the exposure a bit. That is sometimes so useful, I would say, and that helps you more
Sure.
or less. So
True.
a professional training in anything just adds more value than trying to study and look up into a YouTube video.
Right.
So the thing is, you could do all of that, but the amount of time then you will have to give yourself
The learning
on
curve
the
is
field, very high.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah,
Sure.
and plus when you learn from a guru, right, you will know what mistakes they made
True.
when they were learning, so
Sure.
you don't make the same mistakes.
Sure.
You can make up to n number of new mistakes, but you don't repeat what somebody else has
Makes
made.
sense. Wonderful. And also looking at the way you have looked at every form of art, like be it dance or be it photography, you have realized the importance of fundamentals and actually getting the tutelage and the training, and then you've taken it forward to enjoy it better.
Yeah.
That's why we call our course the Art and Science of Photography. The end goal is to create art, but many people say, oh no, see, like Deepa says, classroom में सीखने से अच्छा field में सीखो, but they cannot learn on the field without the foundation of the class, without learning the basics. So that's why I also urge people to take up the theory first, understand the nuances, then practice it on the field and take it better.
Oh, I remember walking into the same room 3 years back.
I see.
For your first photography art and science workshop
After
that you
COVID.
did, after COVID. I was the first one of the participants back then.
I see. Oh, amazing. See, one of the things I keep telling my team is, whoever is a prominent toehold, let's say we call them a patron, they would have been on some workshop, is our belief. Most of them, the 7 out of 10 people, because they are the ones who would actually spend time learning to take their craft to the next level. So I'm glad, I didn't know that you were in a photography workshop. Wonderful. So let's talk about this interesting cohort which we have, and it's increasing over the years. It's women who are in their professional careers, probably mid 30s to 40s, who have now moved on from a family responsibility to an extent. Maybe the kids are old enough to take care of themselves. Now the parents are not too old to take care of them all the time. This cohort is very interesting for us, and I somewhere feel you belong to this cohort in many ways, because you travel, you have a family, you have a professional career. What is it that you see in your industry when it comes to women? Do you see a lot of them picking up hobbies and interests and doing things, or do you think there's still a long way to go for some of them to enjoy a hobby?
I think it's a mixture of both. While for them it's still a distant dream because of financial commitments, family commitments, and secondly an inherent choice of exploring something else other than just work and family.
Right, right.
So that also needs to be there somewhere, because unless and until you're not passionate about something or you don't feel so close about anything, it'll just remain a family vacation.
Sure.
While I advise people to do that because it also requires effort, research and everything, but to have a hobby or a passion outside work definitely impacts the quality time that you put into work.
Of course.
So that's one bit of it. But on the other side, I also see a lot of people who are also into traveling and exploring and passionately following this, any hobby for that matter. But that again comes from an inherent need to be doing something different what others are not doing or
Right.
they would want to do for their own self. I mean,
Makes
of course, we keep living our lives for everybody else but us.
Sure.
But I
sure.
think the trend now is to live for us so
As
that
well.
you know yourself much more better.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Also, I feel, especially for this, women cohort that I'm talking about, it also is probably a solo time to unwind from the family responsibility and office responsibility, and also to think about your own life. And I think it's coming up very well because we see an increasing number. It used to be 80-20.
Yeah.
Now it is, I think, 60-40.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's interesting. Sometimes we have more women on the tour than men,
Oh, fantastic.
depending on the kind of
Yeah,
tour.
yeah.
And I only know that it will increase.
Yeah.
It will increase, and I'm looking forward to that day when we do not have to worry about a lot of things where everybody is traveling freely and they're enjoying what they do and stuff like that.
But I think thanks to social media as well, Jayanth, somewhere, the whole idea of traveling has been so glamorized right now and is being shown, not just photography but traveling, that every person who, I mean, they are barely in their college studying or doing their graduation, or they're freshly out of college and are looking, or rather in their job, all they would want to do is explore the world.
Of course.
And that's something that I've been really liking in this whole Gen Z, Gen
Right.
Alpha trend.
Sure.
That they are literally taking efforts to live for themselves
Right.
before they could commit to something much more meaningful or long term
Right.
that way. So that's
Sure.
very interesting.
Right, right. Amazing. I would think also families are getting into nature and outdoors and wildlife travel. Earlier it used to be just the man, then it used to be a couple, then now even solo women traveling.
Yeah.
But somewhere when they both have children and they also have the same passion, children are getting into wildlife earlier, and that's how this tribe is increasing.
yeah.
And thanks to social media, as you said, a lot of people now also have a purpose to their travel. Talking about purpose, what is Deepa's goals in her interest of wildlife photography and travel? Do you have some larger vision, some goal that you want to achieve?
Of course, just like everybody else who enters this field into passion, I would want to be recognized. Like I said, people look at my work, they should know that yes, this is Deepa's work. Something that calls Deepa in every frame that I click or every image that I make. I mean, not looking at how many publications my photograph goes on,
Sure.
or how many awards that I've won, or I could boast about it in my kitty. That's something different. I mean, of course, maybe if I stay true to what I want to deliver or the story that I want to narrate, somewhere that recognition will come automatically or will get appreciated.
Sure.
But nonetheless, my focus is like every frame I make, I want that frame to scream Deepa in every bit of it. So that's my whole thing.
Okay.
But I haven't chosen whether I would want to go into wildlife conservation or man-animal conflict,
Right.
or urban wildlife.
Sure.
It's still a long way.
Right.
Right now I'm just exploring different terrains, different species,
Sure.
and so on. And right now I'm still there with just 3 years into wildlife
passion?
photography, in this passion. Still there, a long way to go.
Of course, of course. Well, you've done really well for the amount of time you have been doing this. So, best wishes to you. So, a couple of important things. As a CEO of a company which kinds of has to do things to market our services, our tours, our products, we also need to be conscious of influencing people in the wrong ways.
Yeah.
So I keep keep this dipstick check in me to figure out if somebody is overdoing something. If we are, I don't want to be looking like a drug peddler trying to woo somebody saying, "वो देखो वो जंगल में टाइगर ने 4 बच्चे दिए हैं, आना है क्या?" That is sometimes makes me a little conscious. While we have to do that for people who have the time and the interest and the money and the passion to come with us to see the 4 bacche, I also want to make sure people who can't afford either time, they have a responsibility at home, they probably have to struggle with money, to not do this out of addiction and out of helplessness. So coming to this question, as a senior leader in your profession and your business, you have been nurturing your own hobby, and you see a 24-year-old or a 22-year-old, in your company who is also having a different hobby. How do you recommend youngsters to look at the importance of hobby? It's absolutely important, as we spoke, but how do you also put them under a check where you do not forget that your primary job, the role where you are working is the one which is feeding into your hobby? And how do you balance it in such a way that hobby enhances profession but doesn't make the profession look boring and uninteresting and things like that? What do you have to say about this?
Okay, so I'll talk about my own personal experience. See, inherently, like what I've said is, I've always been a passionate person, be it work, and I've given my full commitment to it before jumping or trying to pursue both the things. So when you pursue both the things, of course, now people use the work-life balance.
Right.
It's a very misused or abused term in my in my opinion.
Right.
And I could get beaten up for it. But the reason is, you essentially cannot balance both. You can optimize either of them. So that's one thing. So while I'm working, I am fully and 100% committed and concentrated only on my work.
Absolutely.
Like this year, I've just narrowed down on my tours, and I'm not traveling so much because I needed that focus to be on my work.
Absolutely.
And then second thing is to keep a check on your expenses. To maintain that balance sheet as soon as you start. So you keep maybe keep aside a certain amount of money every month for your passion. Now it could be anything. And we all know photography is an expensive passion. So well planned, well ahead in advance. So you could actually afford and not end up taking loans and having huge commitments and liabilities and all of that. And secondly, not to forget that this is a passion that you're following so dearly right now. Maybe 10 years down the line, when you grow up to take more responsibilities professionally and personally, it could very likely be possible that some of your passions will take a back seat.
Of course.
And not to get impacted because of that.
Absolutely.
So those are a couple of things that I have been doing, and also ensuring that I don't eat up on my savings.
Absolutely.
Because when I retire, I would want to follow this passion full-fledged.
True.
So if I have to do that maybe 10 years or 20 years down the line, I need to build that corpus for me to be comfortably and luxuriously traveling like the way I am doing right now.
Absolutely.
So that vision is very important.
Interesting.
And not to get bogged down by the day-to-day things that are happening. I mean, it could be, we all know that sometimes you're frustrated at work, you're not happy, either it's a colleague or it's the nagging manager or whoever it is. I mean, not everybody is as blessed as I am, because I've had some of the most wonderful bosses.
Absolutely.
But yeah, these are things, maybe then it's the passion or your calling that keeps you on your toes and helps you do with your mundane job, because you know that it's fueling your passion.
Absolutely.
Somewhere.
In fact, I really get depressed when people say, work versus passion. For me, I don't know the difference. They'll say, oh, you cannot complain, tum to wildlife photography karte ho, and stuff like that. But I was not a wildlife photographer from day one, and I was no different when I was in the IT industry as a user experience designer. I was as passionate as I am even today. Even in my nature of work today, right? It's not only about standing in front of a tiger or a leopard or a polar bear and shooting pictures. There is 75% of my work which is administrative, office related. Could be things like this. Could be marketing. Could be, could be finance related. Could be so many such things. I think we should celebrate people who do exceptionally well at their profession, which may not look as exciting or attractive to the outside world, but that fuels their passion, that funds their passion, and they can do these. How I have an interesting analogy, Deepa. I keep telling, let's say you go to a buffet, dinner, right? We can think about, we need the proteins, we need the carbs, we need the fiber, and in the end, let's say there is a gulab jamun, right? Think of your passion as that gulab jamun, and you need to have all of these and a small gulab jamun here and there, so that you end the meal with kya mast dinner tha. Imagine if every dish is gulab jamun, gajar ka halwa, is kheer, is rasmalai, is whatever. The pleasure of enjoying that kheer or gulab jamun will not be as much, and also the pleasure will turn into a pressure with all the other problems related to. This exact analogy is good for anybody's hobby of any kind, I feel. So
100%. I mean, what people think or perceive looking at your social media presence or your presence elsewhere is just barely the tip of the iceberg.
True.
What happens beneath or the struggles that you're going through day-to-day life just to reach or show that pinnacle is so different.
True.
And maybe not all of us talk about it openly or as openly, because I don't.
Right.
Because they are something extremely personal to me, and I don't want to project that.
Sure.
Of course, we all have bad days, we all have frustrating days.
Sure.
But at the end of it, it's also accelerating when you see that something that you've done or contributed at work is being used and is appreciated by them.
Sure.
That joy is nothing else.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's something different. So it's what I would say is, if you're not passionate at your work, you cannot be passionate elsewhere as well.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I really love people who are passionate about their work, because they have a deeper meaning to their life rather than saying मुझे पैसे के लिए काम करना है and मुझे वहाँ जाके enjoy करना है. So
I'm okay with that, because you're passionate about money there. There needs to be
interesting.
There needs to be a passion somewhere.
Sure.
Otherwise, it will not translate into a creative, or rather, it will not fuel your creative energy.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Deepa, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I'm sure what will happen when people listen to this conversation is it'll inspire them to look at their career and hobby. It'll inspire a lot of women who probably may need to take a break, because family, bacche, all of that will never end. It'll keep on going. Bachcho ka age बढ़ जाता है, but responsibility will keep going. Then grandchildren will come and all of that for many people. So I think what it will do is inspire some people to say, you know what, I need to pull a leaf out of this life and enjoy it myself. And that is something that I hope our conversation will help us spread the word. And also interesting points that we have had on this chat is how, the basics of anything you do, the fundamentals has to be in place. Important point you made about, making sure you set aside a fund, because I was chatting with another gentleman called Karthik Rangappa, who's from Zerodha, who was talking about how we can make a travel fund and look at that as a serious investment, and savings one, also investment in one, because you want the money to grow as well. And because of inflation, it keeps going down. So amazing thoughts, and good to hear from somebody who's not into investments and finance as a profession. You are a professional in a IT company or a product company, and you also have been doing this, so it's remarkable. Any closing thoughts? Would you like to add something to this cohort of people? We call this the Explorer Chat. A lot of people who travel with us will be watching this. Any closing thoughts from you?
Not just, the one thing is stick to basics, learn your basics. Strong fundamentals always help. And be open to learning and unlearning. That's very important, because I've seen that as we age, our capacity to absorb and learn slightly diminishes. Because I know it all, I've reached this phase. There's something new and interesting that anybody or everybody can add or teach. And then not get carried away by what the hype about social media is. It's trending only for a couple of months. But what you stick true to, your own style, that kind of stays for a long time.
Absolutely. So, a closing question, because this is a part of our Explorer Chat. What is it that you see is the role of Toehold in this kind of an audience who wants to travel, learn photography, go out and do stuff? Is there something that you recommend Toehold does, which we are not already doing, in order to become better versions of ourselves? And also, if there's something that you think we are doing well, I would love to know from you.
I think the mentoring is the best part, and I can vouch for it because after my last Kanha trip, my whole workflow about how I process an image has totally changed.
I see.
Because of course, the kind of images that I've made now, this year is totally different from what I was earlier making.
Right.
So that's one aspect to it
Sure.
that happens. So I mean, I'm very confident about and things. Second thing is I don't have to worry about the stay, the travel, because it's all the logistics is all taken care of,
Right.
and the on-field mentoring.
Sure.
So at every time, I've traveled majorly with Trikansh, and I have seen him at every stage. If I'm stuck somewhere and I want him to review, he's very patient enough to go through, correct, look at the viewfinder and see where I'm making a mistake and
Right.
maybe just correct it.
Sure.
So that moving forward from there, I'm at an elevated state.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I've barely seen him lift his camera. So
Absolutely.
that's a thing
Sure.
where he is there on the field guiding, mentoring, and I think somebody who could hold you and guide you right in your initial stages and nurture you, that's the best part. Because I've also seen a lot of people who go on travel on their own and try to explore on their own. Nothing wrong about it, but the journey that they take to reach a certain phase or at a certain level is far longer than having
Sure.
to do that with a mentor.
Sure.
Like
I mean, I keep telling people that you have two commodities. One is time and one is money.
Yeah.
You have to trade one to
Yes.
get something. You can't, not do both. So
Yes.
if you don't want to spend money, you have to
Yeah.
spend a long time.
Yeah.
If you spend money, you save time.
But that's also spending money.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. And any thing that you see, Toehold should do this. Is there any thing that you'd like us to do in the future that we have probably overseen or not been doing
Maybe
it?
explore new places.
New places?
Yes.
I see. Okay. Great. In fact, give me some examples of what kind of
Like
places.
you did a tour, I think, a year back to Rwanda, but I have not seen that being added in the list of
The
tours.
list of tours, right.
So maybe Uganda or Rwanda.
Sure.
Or maybe some other African countries where, I mean, Africa is one place that's so dear to me after I've been there for 2-3 times.
Sure.
The wildlife there, I mean, like Indian forest,
Right.
is amazing. While Kenya and Tanzania are quite the most abused ones, I
Sure.
would call that.
Okay.
Just like the Indian forest, like Ranthambhore, Bandhavgarh, or anywhere else, there are a lot of unexplored places that I would personally love traveling to.
Absolutely.
And some species which are not available there, and at the same time maybe Borneo because of the apes. I mean, not all of us are passionate about big cats all the time.
True.
So it's also about how you connect with each of these species rather than just going only with tiger, or leopard,
Sure.
things like that.
Yeah, I mean, before COVID,
Yeah.
we used to do a lot of Botswana. We used to do, I have done Borneo in 2008. It's just that when we start scaling, we need to narrow down our SKUs, as they call the product.
Yeah.
But at some point, we also, like for example, last year's Rwanda trip that you saw, 2025, we haven't done that. December 2023 was when we did that. In fact, my next guest on this podcast would be another lady called Rekha. She was on that Rwanda
Okay.
tour. We need to also figure out a few things as an organization, to be honest. Like, one person can't be everywhere, two people can't be everywhere. At the same time, we have a lot of fundamentals to sort about our org building, because if you see, a lot of people who do this are individuals. They're not organizations. So as an organization, when we start scaling, we have our own problems. We promise you that we'll get back to some of these destinations that we know very well, but we haven't been to in the last year. Like, for example, Botswana, ultimate place for wildlife photographers who are not keen on seeing a tiger or a lion or a leopard or a cheetah every hour. They can go there to find the best of wildlife environments. Borneo, definitely two areas. I also have been talking to Trikansh, and we have experience in Japan to an area called Hokkaido.
Yes.
We want to bring that to the table at some stage. That suits his style of photography. I have done this a few times, but now it's also the timing of colleagues like Trikansh, who is on the upward curve of their careers. So that place suits that style of photography as well. Of course, there is the Svalbards and the Patagonias and the stuff like that. At some stage, Deepa, we also not want to do the whole world.
Yeah,
we would freeze 25, 50 destinations and say this is our expertise. We can't do everything. At the same time, we definitely have a lot more to do than what we have been doing.
Yeah.
Thank you for pushing.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome. But before we could close our conversation, one thing that I want to ask you. So when you take guests out for a photography tour,
Right.
what is it that you expect from your mentees? I would say, or people whom you would like to mentor and see their growth, right?
Sure.
So what is it that you expect? Some kind of a discipline, or I mean, it's just open to your thoughts.
Sure. So yesterday itself, we were having this conversation. We feel we have different mindsets when they travel with us. I was telling about one kind of a mindset. I remember this gentleman who was a CXO of a big motoring company, and 10 years ago, I saw him click pictures randomly, lot of pictures that I wouldn't consider good, and I sat him down and I explained to him saying, this light, you need this kind of setup, this metering, this, that thing. He said, you know what, Jayanth, I come to, it's a stress buster for me. I have purposely bought a camera which shoots 10 frames per second. That was in 2012-13. And I want to hear that drrrr sound that calms me down.
Okay.
And I don't go back and sometimes forget to download my images until the next trip. I'll realize, arre, last day shoot kiya tha, isko download hi nahi kiya tha. Is a perspective I have. I respect that perspective.
Yeah.
Just because I am a mentor and I feel creative karo to creative karo, nahi karo to kyun karna hai, is a personal opinion.
Of course.
But as a service provider, as a CEO, I have the cognizance. Also, you have to understand my background in user experience design.
Yes.
As a graphic designer, I may like blue, but as a product, it may be good to have yellow, or as a user, it may be good to have some. So, I am capable of seeing the world through different perspectives. Some of them may match with mine, some of them are entirely different. So, I feel as a mentor, I also want to tell my colleagues that we are not mentors on a tour, we are mentors to a person. On a tour, we are facilitators because mentoring is a long-term investment. Tutoring or instruction is a short-term investment. So if you go on 5 tours with Trikansh, maybe you can say, I've been mentored by Trikansh. But if you go on 3 days with Jayanth, you can't say Jayanth was my mentor because a mentor has a longer relationship with the mentee. So now while we have people who come to stress bust and click, we also have people who never click till they see a picture in the making. That's the spectrum of different minds that work with us. As a mentor, our or a photo tour guide or a skipper as we call it in Toehold, I urge my colleagues to understand the goals of a person. Try and see if you can push the person's goals to an extent where they have not imagined. Like for example, if you were on a tour with me, I would see a road cross tiger and I would say, show me your best photo, and you show me a picture of a tiger crossing the road. I will see that and I may feel, ye to cliche cross hai. But for your level of photography, if you haven't done this before, this is itself an achievement, right? I cannot look at that from my level of photography. I'm saying I'm not a higher level. With more experience, my expectation is different. So bringing our expectation down to the level of the person, I'm not saying up or low, different. And then inspiring them to think, you know what, you are very good at animal in habitat images, right? Why don't you go to that place and imagine doing something like that? Is a mentor's or an instructor's role. At the same time, if somebody says, you know what, I want to see tigers 6 times a year, because seeing a tiger gives me an adrenaline, it gives me the kick, it gives me that also is there. But if somebody says, I want you to guide me, my goal, I don't know if you know, during the COVID times, I ran a webinar. It was called the Photography Pathfinder webinar. And in that webinar, I told people what are the different reasons why somebody may do photography. Somebody wants to do it for pleasure as a hobby. They want a good time. They want to enjoy, travel, and include a photography perspective to it. That's one perspective. Somebody else says, I've been doing this for a few years now. I would love to win an award. Somebody else says, you know what? I don't care about awards and all of that. I want to conduct or organize or curate a photo exhibition. I want to showcase my perspective to the world. It may not be an award-winning shot, but it's a different perspective.
Yes.
That's one expectation. Somebody else may say, I've been shooting a lot of stuff, I've been putting a lot of money. How about trying to see if I can make a secondary income through photos?
Yes.
That's a perspective.
Yes.
And finally, somebody may say, you know what, I've got so mad into this world of photography that I may want to quit and become a full-time photographer.
Yes.
That's a perspective.
Yes.
Now, as somebody who runs this organization trying to help photography enthusiasts, I cannot cut and paste our mentoring philosophy to all these 5 different cohorts.
Yeah.
So my first job would be to understand what your current expectation is. Somebody may say, I bought a camera, auto mode के अलावा कुछ नहीं मालूम. उसको मैं बोलूँगा creative vision, उसको implement करो. It makes no sense.
Course.
It's like a PhD professor teaching a nursery kid and telling them, trigonometry or something like that. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
So you have to start with the alphabets. You have to start with the basics and stuff like that. So I think without understanding the person's current state and the immediate next goal and the long-term goal, I wouldn't want to even get into this mentoring mode. I'll provide a service on the trip.
Yeah.
I'll give you some technical inputs, but I would also initiate a conversation to understand your goal.
Yeah.
If I feel your goal is unreasonable, I'll tell you. If I feel your goal is misinformed with some social media fake narratives, I'll guide you saying, you know what? Don't expect to make crores of rupees as a wildlife photographer. It is not going to happen.
Yes.
If you want to make money, then you have to use this and do that kind of mentoring.
Yeah.
And finally, being truthful to guiding people, because it's very easy to say, Deepa, you know what, do 6 more tours of these places and I assure you, you'll get an award, is not what we want to do. So it's understanding the person's vision, understanding their present state, and if they say, Jayanth, this is my goal, please help me, then a discipline, then understanding what is to be done, what is not to be done, will happen. But if they don't give me that power, saying, you know what, you are not my mentor, you are my photo tour skipper, my job is different. If somebody gives me that right and says, please help me reach this goal, then in your gym, you know Dinesh, what he does to you, right? The other day I was doing my exercise and he came and put his legs on my feet and said, Uto, 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 and I was like, that is what a photo mentor has to do to a mentee as well. And that will come only when the person has subscribed to a vision. So that is important for us to know. Each person, their goal, their capability, their interest, their long-term vision, and we'll try to make that happen. We'll do a very good job of that. I was also telling Trikansh, right, that let's say you go to Kanha with another set of people and you say, guys, amazing backlight hone wala hai, yahan pe sunrise hone wala hai. Look at that beautiful mango tree in the middle of grassland. यहाँ से एक बारासिंगा आ रहा है, 20 minutes वेट करते हैं, ये coincide हो जाएगा, rule of thirds हो जाएगा, and we will take a picture करके बोलोगे तो there could be a client who say, कितना टाइगर मिस हो रहा है इतने में, right? If that client comes with Trikansh, he may not enjoy the waiting for the Barasinga moment. So it's important for Trikansh to know what that person's goal is. If the person's goal is to see अभी D2 देखना है, अभी B2 देखना है, अभी C2 देखना है, उसके बच्चे हुए वो देखना है, I think we shouldn't even send Trikansh for that purpose, because there is a mismatch of the expectation versus our service. So that is what we were talking as recently as yesterday, and we would now start putting the right expectation on a tour to the right mentor that we want to send. There could be some people who just want to see more. There will be some people who want to improve their photography. We would love to do what they want and inspire them to think a little more. Some people will say, no, this is what it is. Some people will push their boundaries.
Of course.
That is what I think we want to do, and we have a long way to go. It's 15 years, but we still have so much more to do when it comes to this. Thank you for asking that question. Great, Deepa. So it's been a wonderful conversation. I'm sorry it took a little time of my own explanation. It's your podcast, but I am glad you asked me that question. And would you like to add anything else before we wrap up? What's your next trip? You said Laikipia next week.
Laikipia next
and
week.
Then maybe Kaziranga in January. And any dream destination that you haven't planned that you would love to go to?
Of course, there are quite a few. I mean, there are a lot of them, in fact.
Sure.
Starting from Patagonia, all the way to, I like the way you mentioned, Borneo and Hokkaido. Yeah, it's just about planning and then going for it.
That is one dream destination.
Oh, of
I'm
course,
sure.
Svalbard. And this is one of my favorite images.
Right,
I still
right.
have that, what you sent me this while
Yes.
you were there.
While I
Yeah.
was there,
Yeah.
looking forward. Thank you so much, Deepa.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful conversation. I hope you enjoyed this
Oh, yes,
conversation.
definitely.
And I'll share it when we have this. And I'd also love to get some photos of yours
Done.
to feature it during the chat.
Sure.
Well, Deepa, this has been a delight. It's inspiring to see how someone can excel at a high pressure leadership role and still carve out space for creativity, adventure, and meaningful experiences. Your blend of intuition, discipline, and curiosity is refreshing, and I'm sure it will resonate with anyone trying to juggle passion and profession. Thank you for sharing your stories, your photographs, and your perspectives with us. And to everyone listening, here's your reminder that the wild isn't as far away as it seems. Sometimes, all it takes is stepping outside your routine and paying attention. Until next time, keep exploring.